The forest was quiet, except for the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of a strange, distant bird. Dr. Elias Ward moved carefully through the glowing undergrowth, his boots crunching lightly on the damp ground. This planet was unlike anything he had seen before. Trees with translucent leaves swayed gently above him, their colors shifting from soft blues to faint purples as the light from the twin suns changed. Streams of clear water twisted like ribbons through the forest floor, reflecting the light in sparkling patterns. Elias had come to this planet to study its flora, to understand the strange bioluminescent plants that seemed to pulse with life on their own. Yet he could not shake the feeling that he was not entirely alone. It was a feeling that had been growing stronger for hours. At first, Elias thought it was the wind, the way it made the leaves shimmer. Then he heard it, a soft, uneven footstep, careful and cautious somewhere behind the tall ferns. He stopped immediately, raising his hand slightly as if to show he meant no harm. The forest was quiet again, but the sensation of being watched did not leave him. Then she appeared. Lyra. Her movements were slow and hesitant, each step seeming to take great effort. Her skin glimmered faintly in the dim light, a subtle silver that seemed almost part of the forest around her. Her eyes wide and wary locked on Elias, and she froze, trembling slightly. "Don't you dare touch me, human," she said, her voice sharp but quiet, carrying both fear and pain. Elias froze, nodding slowly. "I won't," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is Elias. I'm a scientist. I just want to help." Lyra's gaze narrowed, but she did not move closer. Instead, she took a careful step back, as if distance alone could protect her. Elias noticed the subtle signs of injury. Her movements were unsteady, her balance uneven, and her hands trembled slightly. It was clear she had been through something difficult, something that had left her wary of anyone approaching. He took another careful step, keeping his hands visible and open. "I can see you're hurt," he said softly. "I have medicine. I can help you feel better. If you trust me, only then will I come closer." Lyra's eyes flickered, a mixture of hesitation and suspicion. She seemed to measure him silently, weighing the risk of his words. Elias knew that trust could not be forced, especially not with someone who had been betrayed before. He took a slow breath and decided to wait, giving her the space she needed. "I'll stay here," he said, pointing to the soft moss nearby. "I won't touch you. You can stay where you are. I just want to help." Time seemed to stretch in the forest. The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of flowers and wet earth. A small creature no larger than a rabbit darted past, glowing faintly in the dim light. Lyra flinched at the sound but did not retreat further. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she lowered her hands and let out a shaky breath. Elias noticed the small shift. It was a sign. A tiny one, but a sign nonetheless. She was beginning to see that he might be different from the humans she had been warned about. Why are you here?" she asked finally, her voice quieter now, though still wary. "Humans are not supposed to be near this place." Elias nodded, understanding the caution behind her words. "I know," he said. "Many of your people don't trust humans. But I'm not like the ones you've heard about. I'm here to study the plants, the forest, to understand it, not to fight or take anything." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I'm here to learn and maybe to help if I can." Lyra's gaze softened slightly, though the caution in her eyes remained. She took another small step, but her body remained tense, as if ready to flee at the first sign of danger. Elias smiled gently, not to charm, but to show reassurance. "We can take this slowly," he said. "No rushing. You only move when you feel safe." For a long moment she did not answer. Then, almost silently, she whispered, Someone betrayed me. I cannot trust easily." Her words were barely audible, but Elias understood immediately. Trust had been broken before, leaving marks deeper than any visible injury. "I understand," he said softly. "Sometimes betrayal leaves scars that take a long time to heal. I won't make you hurry." He lowered himself onto a nearby log, careful to keep a safe distance, and began speaking quietly about the forest. He described the plants, the streams, the patterns of light and life. He spoke not to impress her, but to show that he appreciated the forest, that he was part of it in some small way. Slowly, cautiously, Lyra began to move closer. Not to touch, not to fully trust, but to observe him. Her head tilted slightly, her curiosity peeking through the fear. Humans were supposed to be reckless, dangerous, and self-centered. Yet here was one who respected her space, who spoke gently, and who seemed genuinely interested in the life around him. Elias noticed a faint limp in her step and pointed to a small stream nearby. "There's fresh water there," he said softly. "If you like, I can bring some to you. It's safe to drink." He spoke slowly, carefully, avoiding any sudden movements. Lyra's eyes flickered to the stream, then back to him. She did not move closer, but she did not move away either. After a long pause, she gave a small nod, almost imperceptible, and Elias quietly filled a container with water, setting it a short distance from her. She drank without moving closer, and Elias simply waited, watching her carefully. In that quiet moment, the tension in the forest seemed to shift. The light from the trees shimmered softly around them, and for a brief moment it was as if the world had paused, holding its breath. Elias realized then that the simplest acts, patience, respect, kindness, could sometimes do more than force or strength. Even in a place where betrayal had left deep wounds, small gestures could begin to heal. As they spent time together, Elias began to notice more about her. The way her eyes studied him carefully, the way she moved with a grace even while injured, and the subtle hints of intelligence in her gaze. Lyra was no ordinary being. She was sharp, perceptive, and deeply cautious. Yet she also carried an unspoken loneliness, a sense of isolation that spoke of the betrayal she had endured. Elias felt a quiet determination. If he could show her that humans were capable of more than she had been led to believe, perhaps he could help her see that not all beings sought harm. Suddenly, the soft rustle of leaves grew louder, and both of them tensed. A shimmer in the air caught Elias's attention, a strange energy signature, faint but noticeable, moving through the forest like a ripple in water. Lyra's eyes widened, and she stepped back instinctively. Elias kept his voice calm. "It's okay," he said quietly. "Whatever it is, we'll deal with it together. You're not alone right now." Lyra's gaze softened slightly, and she seemed to consider his words. Slowly, carefully, she nodded. Elias could see the beginning of trust forming, fragile and delicate like the glow of the forest around them. It would take time, he knew, but it was a start. He also realized that this planet, with its strange storms and glowing life, held secrets beyond the plants and streams. And perhaps, just perhaps, humans and Ilari could find a way to understand each other, even after betrayal and fear. Hours passed, and the forest grew darker as the twin suns dipped lower. The glowing plants lit their path, casting gentle light across Elias and Lyra. She moved a little closer now, staying just within reach of safety but no longer completely distant. Elias offered her a small, carefully prepared meal, something he hoped she would accept. Her hesitation was brief, and she took it, keeping her eyes wary but curious. Each small act, each moment of shared space, became a silent conversation, a way to show that trust could begin even after betrayal. By the time the sun set completely, casting the forest in shades of deep blue and silver, Elias and Lyra had created an unspoken bond. Words were few, but understanding flowed between them. She had not fully trusted him, not yet, but she had taken the first steps towards seeing humans not just as a threat, but as beings capable of empathy, patience, and respect. As they settled for the night, with the soft hum of the forest around them, Elias thought about the journey ahead. This was only the beginning. Lyra had secrets, fears, and a history of betrayal. But he was determined to show her that humans could be different, that even in a universe filled with misunderstandings, patience, and kindness, could forge bridges where suspicion had once ruled. And in that quiet, glowing forest, it felt possible. The morning sunlight filtered through the glowing leaves, casting gentle patterns across the forest floor. Lyra stirred first, her silver-tinged skin shimmering in the soft light. Elias, still half asleep, watched her quietly. She did not speak, merely observed the forest around her moving with careful, cautious steps. Despite the injuries she carried, there was a strength in her movements, a quiet resilience that Elias could not help but admire. After a few moments of silence, she finally spoke, her voice hesitant but steady. "You helped me yesterday. I did not expect humans to care like this." Elias smiled softly. "Not all humans are the same," he said. "Some of us can see the value in life around us. Some of us respect it, even when it is strange or different." Lyra's eyes flickered, a mix of curiosity and lingering suspicion. "Different," she murmured as if tasting the word. "Perhaps. I have been wrong about some things." Elias nodded gently. "Maybe, but trust is not built in a day. I know that. You have been hurt before. I want to show you that humans can be worthy of trust. Slowly, carefully, step by step. She studied him for a long moment. Then, without a word, she began moving deeper into the forest, glancing back at him to see if he would follow. Elias did, keeping a respectful distance. They walked in silence, listening to the faint hum of the forest, the distant trickle of water and the soft whisper of leaves in the wind. Each step felt deliberate, careful, like they were both testing the space between them, learning how to share it without fear. Eventually, they arrived at a hidden glade, a place where the forest opened to reveal a small waterfall, cascading into a pool of crystal-clear water. The sunlight reflected off the water, creating shimmering patterns that danced across the trees. Lyra paused, her eyes wide with awe. This place. It is sacred to my people, she said softly. Few are allowed here. Elias looked around, impressed. It is beautiful, he said. I have never seen anything like it. You are lucky to have a place like this. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. It is a place of peace, but also of warning, my people. We have learned to be careful. Betrayal can come even from those we trust. Her voice faltered slightly, and Elias realized that the memory of betrayal still weighed heavily on her. I understand, he said quietly, and I want to help if I can. Not by forcing trust, but by helping you see the truth, by showing you that not all beings seek to harm. She looked at him carefully. You speak honestly. But honesty? It is easy to imitate. Actions show truth. Elias nodded, accepting her challenge. Then watch my actions. I will not rush you. I will not take advantage of your trust. Only when you feel ready, will I act. For hours they explored the glade together. Elias pointed out the strange plants and glowing flowers, explaining their properties in simple words. He even used small tools to demonstrate how the plants could be studied without harming them. Lyra observed silently, her eyes flicking to him occasionally, her mind analyzing every movement. She had been trained to suspect outsiders, especially humans, but there was something different about him. By midday, Elias noticed her slowing, a sign that she had been pushing herself despite her injuries. Rest, he suggested softly. You have moved far for someone who is hurt. There is no rush. She nodded, allowing herself to sit beside him near the waterfall. The water splashed gently over the rocks, creating a soft, soothing sound. Elias handed her a small portion of food he had prepared. Simple, nutritious, and safe. She took it cautiously, studying it before eating. Every action was careful, deliberate, as if she had to measure each step for safety. As they ate, Lyra spoke quietly. I was betrayed by someone I trusted completely. They told lies. They made me doubt everything. I thought humans were part of it, that they were behind the attacks, the lies. Her hands trembled slightly as she recounted the memory, and Elias realized the depth of her pain. I see, he said gently. It must have been very difficult for you. But I promise you, humans are not all like that. Some of us value honesty and respect above all else. Some of us will not betray you. She studied him, her eyes searching for deception. Elias met her gaze steadily. I will prove it, he said. Not with words, but with actions. We will find the truth together. Lyra hesitated, then nodded slightly. Very well, but you must follow my rules. No sudden movements. No touching without permission. And no interference unless I ask. Agreed, Elias said calmly. Your rules will be respected. Together they began to trace the path of the betrayal. Lyra led Elias to a series of hidden markers, signs of recent activity left by the traitor. Broken branches, displaced stones, and subtle psychic disturbances that only she could sense. Elias observed carefully, using his scientific tools to confirm patterns, measure anomalies, and record evidence. He was careful not to disturb anything unnecessarily. As they worked, Elias noticed something remarkable. Lyra's senses, though different from his own, complemented his perfectly. She could detect the faintest shifts in the environment, while he could analyze and interpret the physical evidence. Together they began to piece together the trail, a puzzle of deception that had been hidden in plain sight. By late afternoon, they discovered a small clearing that had been used as a temporary camp by the traitor. Items were scattered around, tools, containers, and messages left carelessly. Elias examined them carefully, documenting each piece of evidence. Lyra's eyes narrowed as she recognized the marks of her betrayer. This is his doing, she whispered. He wanted me to think it was humans, but now I can see clearly. Elias nodded. You have the proof now, he said. We know the truth. Humans were not behind this. We can show others too if needed. Lyra's eyes softened, a mixture of relief and lingering wariness. You helped me see the truth, without forcing it. Without lies, Elias smiled gently. That is what humans can do. We can learn, adapt, and help. Sometimes the hardest part is showing that we can be trusted, even when others are not. They rested by the camp, sharing quiet conversation. Lyra began to speak more freely, recounting the culture of her people, their values, and their fears. Elias listened, fascinated by the richness of their history and the complexity of their society. He asked questions respectfully, never interrupting, never judging. In return, Lyra began to share small details of her life, the experiences that had shaped her, and even moments of joy that she had once known. The day began to fade into evening, and the forest took on a deeper, more mysterious glow. The bioluminescent plants lit the paths, casting soft, colorful shadows. Elias and Lyra moved carefully, guided by the dim light toward a natural bridge of rock that spanned a small ravine. We must be cautious here, Lyra said softly. The terrain is unstable. Many have fallen in this area before. Elias nodded, following her lead. He trusted her guidance completely, moving carefully over the rocks. Lyra watched him closely, her gaze sharp yet less tense than before. Step by step they crossed the bridge, a silent testament to their growing understanding. When they reached the other side, Lyra paused and looked out over the forest. I see now, she said quietly, almost to herself. Humans, you are not as reckless as I thought. You think, you observe, you care. Elias smiled. We are not perfect, he said. But we try, and sometimes trying is enough to make a difference. For the first time since they met, Lyra allowed herself to relax slightly. She did not fully trust him yet, but the walls she had built around herself were beginning to shift. The betrayal that had haunted her no longer felt so suffocating. She could see that humans could be allies, that not all outsiders were dangerous. As night fell, the forest shimmered under the light of distant stars. Elias and Lyra set up a small, safe space to rest, careful to respect the forest and each other. They shared stories of the day's discoveries, their voices soft and steady. Each moment of shared experience built a bridge of understanding, slowly connecting two beings from different worlds. In the quiet of the night, Elias thought about the journey ahead. They had uncovered the truth about the betrayal, but there was more to learn. More mysteries awaited in the forest, more secrets that could strengthen the bond between humans and Ilari. And as he watched Lyra, resting with a cautious sense of calm, he knew that patience, respect, and understanding could accomplish what fear and suspicion could not. For the first time, he felt a real sense of connection, not just to Lyra but to the world around them. The forest, the glowing plants, the streams, even the energy of the air itself seemed to welcome the alliance forming between them. And in that quiet, shimmering place, it felt possible that trust could grow, even after betrayal, and that humans could earn their place as allies in a universe full of uncertainty. The forest was quiet as dawn crept over the horizon, painting the sky with soft pinks and golds. Elias and Lyra had spent the night near the glimmering waterfall, their small camp carefully arranged to avoid disturbing the delicate ecosystem. For the first time, Lyra moved with ease, her earlier tension replaced by a cautious calm. She still kept a careful distance, but her eyes no longer darted at every sound. Elias, watching her, felt a quiet satisfaction. Trust was a fragile thing, and they had built the beginnings of it step by careful step. Today they would confront the traitor. Not with anger or force, but with intelligence, observation, and teamwork. Elias had spent the night reviewing the clues they had gathered. The subtle disturbances in the forest, the misplaced tools, the psychic traces only Lyra could detect. Together they had built a clear picture of what had happened. The final step was to face the one who had caused Lyra so much pain, not for revenge, but to restore truth. As they moved deeper into the forest, the path became narrower, the trees older and taller, their bioluminescent leaves dimmer in the morning light. Elias followed Lyra closely, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. Lyra led the way, her senses alert for the slightest disturbance. He should be close, she said softly. The trail ends not far from here. He wanted me to think he was gone, but his patterns are predictable, Elias nodded. Then we'll use what we know. Carefully. No surprises, no unnecessary risks. After a short trek, they arrived at a small clearing. The traders' camp was empty, but there were signs of recent activity, footprints, small tools, and subtle psychic disturbances that made Lyra's skin prickle. Elias crouched to examine the ground, confirming the evidence with careful observation. He left recently, Elias said, but not far. The trail continues, Lyra's eyes narrowed. He thought he could trick me. He thought I would fail to see. Her voice carried both anger and determination, but Elias noticed a soft undertone of relief. She would not have to face him alone. They followed the trail until it ended at a series of ancient stone ruins, partially overgrown with glowing vines. The air was thick with quiet energy, as if the forest itself was watching. Elias and Lyra paused at the edge, studying the scene. Lyra extended her hand, sensing the psychic traces left behind. He is here, she whispered. But he does not expect us, Elias nodded. Then we have the advantage. Let's approach carefully. Observe first, act with precision. They moved slowly, blending with the natural shadows of the ruins. From a distance they saw him. The traitor, a being of the same species as Lyra, focused on some intricate device. He did not notice them. Elias whispered, Now we watch. Let's see what he does without disturbing him yet. Lyra focused, her senses reaching out subtly. She could feel his intentions, his plans, and the lies he had woven. She spoke quietly, almost to herself. He wanted to frame humans. He wanted fear to rule. But his deception ends today. Elias studied the device from afar, curious. It was a collection of delicate instruments and glowing crystals, seemingly harmless at first glance. Yet the device's pattern revealed the traitor's manipulations, the subtle misdirection, the false evidence planted to accuse humans. Elias understood immediately. This was not just a physical device, but a tool to manipulate perception. Clever but predictable to careful observation. Lyra moved closer, keeping her senses attuned. We will show him that honesty and truth are stronger than lies, she said firmly. Elias nodded. Let's reveal the truth without harming him. Let's outsmart him, not hurt him. Together they approached, careful to remain hidden until the right moment. Elias whispered to Lyra, On my signal we reveal the evidence we have gathered. Clear, undeniable proof that humans were not involved. Lyra nodded, her silver-tinged skin glowing softly in the light filtering through the vines. Elias reached into his pack and produced a small device that projected the recorded evidence. Images of the forest, traces of the traitor's movements, and the analysis of the plants and psychic disturbances. The projection glowed brightly, illuminating the ruins. The traitor froze, his head snapping toward the light. His eyes widened as he saw the evidence, the undeniable proof of his own deception. Elias stepped forward slowly, his voice calm but firm. We know the truth, he said. Humans were not involved. You planted lies to create fear. The forest and your own actions have revealed everything. Lyra moved closer, her presence commanding but controlled. You cannot hide behind deceit any longer, she said. The truth will be seen and your actions exposed. But I will not harm you. Only the truth matters. The traitor's shoulders slumped. There was no anger in Elias or Lyra's voices, only clarity. For the first time, the traitor realized that his plans had failed, not because of strength or force, but because of careful observation, patience, and truth. He could not argue against the evidence. He could only accept it. Lyra stepped closer still, her eyes softening. You have caused pain, yes, she said quietly. But it ends now. We will ensure that the lies you planted do not spread. You will not hurt anyone else with deception. Elias nodded, adding gently, And humans are not your enemies. We are capable of understanding, of learning, and of working with you. Deception cannot hide the possibility of trust. The traitor looked between them, a mixture of shame and understanding in his expression. Slowly he nodded, recognizing that he had lost not to force or anger but to truth and clarity. Elias felt a quiet sense of relief. This was the outcome he had hoped for, a resolution without harm, where understanding and intelligence triumphed. Lyra turned to Elias, a small smile breaking through her cautious demeanor. You have shown me that humans can be honorable, that patience and respect are real qualities. Elias returned her smile. I only did what anyone with care and observation would do. But I am glad it helped. You deserved the truth, and now you have it. The forest around them seemed to breathe with calm, the glowing leaves shining more brightly as if acknowledging the restored balance. For the first time since the betrayal, Lyra allowed herself to relax fully. She did not move closer in a gesture of trust, but her eyes held no fear. She had seen humans at their best, intelligent, patient, and respectful. Together, Elias and Lyra began the journey back to the glade. The forest seemed friendlier now, the bioluminescent plants lighting their path as if guiding them. Along the way, Lyra shared more of her culture, speaking of her people's values, their traditions, and the way they had once lived in harmony with humans before fear and deception had caused distance. Elias listened, fascinated. He asked questions carefully, never interrupting, always respectful. With each exchange, the bond between them strengthened. They had faced the challenge of betrayal together, not with conflict, but with intelligence, cooperation, and understanding. By midday, they reached the glade once more. The waterfall shimmered in the sunlight, casting dancing patterns across the rocks. Lyra paused and looked at Elias. I trust you, she said softly. Not fully, but enough to see that not all humans are dangerous. Some of you are capable of great understanding. Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. That is all I ask, he said gently. Trust grows slowly, step by step, and I am glad to have earned some of it. They spent the afternoon examining the forest together. Elias taught Lyra simple methods to observe plants without harming them, while she shared techniques to sense subtle changes in the environment. Their skills complemented each other perfectly. Humans had ingenuity, careful observation, and adaptability, while Lyra had heightened perception and insight into the natural and psychic energies of the forest. Together, as evening fell, the forest glowed softly, and Elias and Lyra prepared a small camp. They ate quietly, sharing stories of their lives and the journeys that had brought them here. Laughter echoed softly between them, a sound that had been absent since Lyra's betrayal. Elias realized that healing was more than physical. It was emotional and mental, and it required patience, respect, and shared understanding. Before resting, Lyra turned to Elias. I want humans to be seen as allies again, she said thoughtfully. Not as threats. You have shown me that it is possible, that cooperation can exist even after fear and lies. Elias smiled. That is the hope, he said, and I believe it is possible. Not just between us, but between all humans and your people. We only need patience, care, and a willingness to understand. The stars appeared overhead, twinkling like distant fires. The forest seemed alive with quiet energy, glowing softly under the night sky. For the first time since Elias arrived, he felt that the forest, Lyra, and even the challenges of betrayal had created something new, a bridge between worlds, a chance for trust and a shared understanding that could grow. And Lyra leaned back, her eyes reflecting the glow of the forest. Tomorrow, she said softly, we will begin to restore the truth among my people, with evidence and honesty, and you, human, will be there as an ally. Elias nodded, feeling a quiet pride. I will be there, he said, and together we will show that humans are capable of care, understanding, and respect. That even in a universe full of challenges, bridges can be. As the night deepened, Elias and Lyra rested, side by side but at a respectful distance. The forest hummed quietly, the glowing plants casting a gentle light across the ground. The journey had been long, and